I'm going to show you how to make some homemade mozzarella. It just takes a few ingredients. What we have here is 1 gallon of fresh milk. If you can't get fresh milk, you can use milk from the store. Just get milk that is not ultra pasteurized, which means that it was pasteurized using a really high heat. And it might take a bit of experimenting if you have different types of milk available to you to find out which one works for you, because it won't always say on the carton if it's ultra pasteurized or not. Fresh milk is the best, but other milk will work. So we've got 1 gallon of that. We've got some vinegar, some lemon juice, and some rennet. And rennet, it helps the cheese curds coagulate and come together. I was having some trouble with making mozzarella for a while, and I finally figured out what the problem was. Because the only rennet that I have available to me is called junket rennet, and this is usually more used for custards and ice cream. So it's a little looser as opposed to the strong binding that we want with cheese. So you can still use it, but you need to use more. So now that I know that, my mozzarella is working out a lot better. So if you use junket rennet, use the amount that I am using here. If you have regular rennet, what I have found is a common amount is just a half of a tablet. The rennet comes in tablets like this. For the junket rennet, I'm going to use these 4 tablets. The first step is to put some vinegar into your pot. You want to use a non-reactive pot. I've measured out here, this is 6 tablespoons of vinegar. And I just put it into my pot. Next we're going to add the milk. Pour it in, it mixes with the vinegar. Now I'm just going to turn it to a low heat. Just going to turn it to number 4 and stir it gently just by kind of moving the spoon in a gentle up and down motion. And we're going to bring this slowly to between 88 degrees Fahrenheit and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Take between 20 and 30 minutes to bring it slowly to that temperature. And don't rush it and try and use a higher temperature and get it to the right temperature faster, or that can cause it to not come together properly. So you just got to be patient for 20 minutes or so. I'm going to get my thermometer to monitor, and I just don't want it to touch the bottom of the pan because that's going to be too hot, so I just kind of nestle it on top of the spoon. Just gently stirring it every 5 minutes or so to keep it from starting to stick to the bottom, and we're going to bring it to 88 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So when the milk is at about 80 degrees, I start to prepare the rennet. You don't want to do it too soon, because if rennet sits in, once it's dissolved in the water, after about half an hour, it's going to lose some of its potency. So just do it when your milk is almost at temperature. And then what I have here is I'm breaking up my rennet and adding them to half a cup of water. Recipes always call for unchlorinated water, which is best to use if you have it. I have always just used water right out of my tap, and it works okay. Okay, so 4 tabs broken up into half a cup of cool water. And then that's ready to add to the milk. What the rennet does is it helps the cheese curds to coagulate. So it helps them stick together and become stretchy later on in the process. And when we added the vinegar earlier, what the vinegar does is it helps the milk to curdle and separate the curds from the whey. The curds are the little chunks of cheese and the whey is the liquid that's left over, and it's usually kind of a yellowish greenish color. And the curds are what we turn into cheese. And the whey can be used in soups and in baking. Once the milk is at between 88 and 90 degrees, which mine just reached temperature, then you take it off the heat and stir in the rennet. Using the up and down gentle kind of swooping motion. You can see already it's starting to make a little bit of curdling. What I have found works is adding just a little bit of lemon juice until it separates, and it doesn't take very much, and then it happens really quickly. And there's no real exact measurement for this, it's just until it separates, and you'll see. So I just add a splash, little splash, stir it in. It's really starting to thicken now, it's just about there. And now you can see, you're starting to see a distinction between the solids and the liquids. There we go. Okay, so as soon as it's like that, we're gonna leave it. We're just gonna let it sit for 15 minutes. And we also just want to maintain the 88 to 90 degree temperature at this point, which is pretty easy to do. It should just mostly be staying at that temperature. I'm going to give my thermometer a wash and then stick it back in. Now just keep an eye on it for 15 minutes. Keep it at 88 to 90 degrees. Pop it back on the burner. It's off now, but it still has some residual heat, and that'll be enough if the heat starts to drop a little bit. After about 15 minutes, check the consistency of your curds, and you'll see they're kind of like a soft tofu, and they've come together. At this point then, we're ready to cut them into little cubes. So I'm just using a long, sharp knife, cutting strips this way and then going across the other way to make cubes. Okay, and then cut the other way. Cutting gently. You don't want to break them up too much. We're going to let them sit for another 15 minutes at 90 degrees, and then we'll do the next step. The curds, after they were cut, let them sit for 10 minutes. I might have said 15 minutes before, but 10 minutes should be good. Keeping a lid on your pot can help the temperature maintain at 90 degrees. And then now what we want to do is slowly bring the heat up to 108 degrees. The ingredients and the things that we're doing to make this cheese is kind of straightforward. The trickiest part is the temperatures are really particular. So it's just about bringing it to the right temperature at the right time and not too quickly. So what we're going to do is over the course of about 15 minutes, we're going to raise the temperature from 90 degrees Fahrenheit to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to gently stir it a few times every 5 minutes just to keep the curds from sticking to the bottom and to help them to firm up some more. So we just kind of gently go along the sides, press them into each other a little bit, and then gently get underneath to make sure that those guys in the middle aren't sticking. So you can see there's the curds kind of sticking together nicely, not sticking to the bottom of the pot. That's good. So a gentle stir, and give it another gentle stir in 5 minutes. After the curds curds got to 108 degrees. I took them off the heat. They sat for 10 minutes. And now it's time to, using my slotted spoon, and scoop them out into a colander. So I've got a colander here, and it's inside of a bowl to catch the whey that's going to drip off of the curds. The curds are stuck together. I'm going to just gently, I'm going to have to break them up a little bit to get them out, but I don't want to break them up too much. Strain off a bit of the whey, put them in here. The whey will continue to drain out of them. I'm going to let them sit, once I've got them all out, I'm going to have them sit in here draining for about 15 minutes while I bring this remaining liquid to about 185 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to dunk the curds into it, soften them up, get them ready to stretch. This is going to, just under its own weight, drain a lot, but I'm going to, every once in a while, over the next 15 minutes, kind of just pick it up and tilt it, move it around a little, and that'll help speed up. And then I'll just kind of keep dumping this back into here, and that will be the next 15 minutes. So the curds have drained off most of the whey, and they've now come together in a nice ball. So now what I'm going to do is put it out on this parchment paper on the counter, and I'm just going to press it down gently, flatten it out just a little bit, and then I'm going to cut it into 3 sections. Each section will be a ball of mozzarella, and I'm going to form them one at a time. So I'm going to take the first portion, put it in the colander, bring it over here to the hot whey. I added 3 teaspoons of salt to the whey, and I heated it up to 175 to 180 degrees. Somewhere between there is fine. It's going to be nice and hot. Then I'm going to take the curds, keep them in the colander, and dunk them in here. Give them a few dunks and a few turns over. Just going to keep dunking them and turning them until I start to see that it's starting to melt. Gently pressing it a little bit with this to try and flatten it a little bit, but I don't want to press it too hard. Okay, so now we can see it's starting to get a little melty and a little stretchy. Almost there. Oh, there we go. It's starting to get stringy and melty. So now, pop it back here in the bowl, bring it over to the counter, dump it out. And I'm just going to press it. I want to just heat it a little more. Still feels just a little firm. While that's giving a little extra soak, I'm just going to get my salt ready. We are going to do an experiment with the amount of salt that we use to try and really pin down just the right amount that we like. So we've got 3 balls of mozzarella that we're going to make. In the first ball, we're going to do just 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to sprinkle a little down here where I'm going to lay it out, and then I'll sprinkle the rest on top. Okay, so dumping the curds out onto the salt, put a little more on the top, and then just give it, oh yeah, see, it's really nice and melty. Fold it over a few times. And then I'm going to pick it up and stretch it. Stretch. You don't want to overwork it too much or the cheese will be tough. Just maybe 3 stretches like that. And then I kind of do the same as when I'm kneading my sourdough bread or buns, which is just tucking the sides underneath itself and using the palms and kind of pulling the top tight. And then make a C with my hand, press it up through the top from underneath to make a ball, kind of pinch the bottom closed. Good. And wow, mozzarella. Then I'm just gonna pop it into some cold water to cool it, and then we'll do the next one. So if you're working with a gallon of milk, then maybe you want to do your own little experiment on how much salt you like. I find that it's hard to know how much salt when you taste it when it's fresh, because when you first add the salt and you taste it, it tastes really salty, and then after it's cooled and it's in the fridge and the next day when you eat it, it feels like, oh, it needs more salt. So that's why we're going to do this experiment and really try and nail down how much we add. And I've got my finished ball, and then I'm just putting it in this container of cold water to chill. Here we are with our 3 finished balls of mozzarella. I didn't do a very good job at making them even size. The smallest one is the one that was destined to get the most salt. So we'll see how our salt experiment goes. I think it'll still give us an idea of how much salt we want to add. This was the first one we did. We just added a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and this one was 1/2 teaspoon, and this one was 3/4 teaspoon. And so I'll let you know what we think of that once we've tasted them all, which will be before not too long. And there you go. I hope that you will give making mozzarella a try and have a lot of fun with it. And even if it doesn't turn out for you every time, it's still going to be good cheese. It just might not be that stretchy mozzarella, but give it a try. If you have any questions, just let me know and I will help you out. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.